Voice love and gender diversity in Japanese pop culture. Hello, my name is Emiko Nozawa. I'm going to talk about gender in the contemporary Japanese popular culture, specifically focusing on boys' love in girls' manga and its implications. Boys' love, so-called BL, is a distinctive genre in Japanese manga that highlights romantic relationships between men. What makes this genre unique is that both the authors and the readers of BL manga are predominantly heterosexual women. BL manga emerged in the 1980s amongst young amateur creators, but now there are many professional and non-professional manga creators who contribute to BL, and this genre has acquired a wide readership across the national borders. As in other cultures, cross-dressing has not been uncommon in traditional Japanese performing arts. In No and Kabuki, the traditional forms of performing arts, female roles have been performed by male actors. Especially during the Edo era, women were banned from performing in public. However, since the mid-19th century, when the political, economic, and social systems began to be modernized and the Western culture was introduced, female performers appeared on the stage. These photos are from the Takarazuka Review, an all-female musical theater troupe founded in 1914. There are only female performers, and all the characters, including male characters, are played by women. The audience of Kabuki and the Takarazuka Review is mostly the middle-class heterosexual women. Although romantic stories are performed by the same-sex performers, heteronormativity is the norm, and the audience generally ignore the biological sex of the performers. With the modernization of the educational system, a new group of teenage girls, jogakse, girls high school students emerged. They were a small minority of elite girls from the upper middle class, but they symbolized modernized women. The image at the bottom right corner portrays a girl's high school student riding a bicycle. The bicycle was not considered feminine, but it represented modernization and liberation of young women. Even in today's films and TV dramas, we find an image of a young woman riding a bicycle that represents how modernized, liberated the woman is. The purpose of the girls' high school at that time was to educate future good wives and intelligent mothers who would guide their children well. While the girls had a quite family-oriented education, they got a space that was independent from their parents. That facilitated a new form of teenage girls' culture, including girls' magazines, girls' novels, poems, and lyrical illustrations. Though they were financially dependent on their parents, they formed a group of consumers that support this distinctive style of culture. While they were not allowed to have a close relationship with males, it was somehow tolerated for girls to have a close relationship with another female student. It was called S. That stands for sister. In S, generally a senior student and a junior student had a platonic relationship in which they exchanged letters and went shopping together. S became a popular theme of girls' novels as well. Their relationships were tolerated because it was not considered threatening to heteronormativity. The relationship was thought temporary, in which adolescent innocent girls imitated heterosexual relationship. It was believed that after leaving school or their marriage was set, these girls would naturally leave such innocent relationships. So it terrified parents and teachers when a double suicide case occurred in 1911 and S came to be a social issue. There were several girls' high schools that strictly prohibited S. While girls' culture flourished with an element of romantic relationships between girls, lesbianism was subordinated in the face of heteronormativity. After World War II, children's manga became very popular. Osamu Tezuka, a legendary manga creator, Shigeru Mizuki, and other manga writers produced various types of manga that created the basis of today's manga culture. Although parents considered manga was harmful and attempted to ban them, they were not able to prevent children from reading manga. Cross-dressing was one popular element in manga because it would create both hilarious situations and serious human drama. Princess Knight by Osamu Tezuka was one of the early works, in which the protagonist Princess Sapphire is raised as a prince who will take over the throne. Another popular manga in which the protagonist cross-dresses is The Roses in Versailles, written by Ryoko Ikeda. In The Roses in Versailles, the fictitious character Lady Oscar is raised as a boy to succeed to her father's position, the leader of the palace guard under the Louis XV and the XVI. While serving as the commander of the royal guards, Oscar secretly suffered from the pain caused by her dual gender identities. Having learned about the corruptions of the royal family and being sympathetic towards the sufferings of the impoverished people, she left her position and chose to participate in the people marching to the Bastille. The story attracted many teenage readers and was adapted in a TV animation and the Takarazuka Review. It is one of the most popular programs among Takarazuka performances even today. In both Princess Knight and The Roses in Versailles, no same-sex relationship is described, except for a very short episode in which a young lady who adores Lady Oscar commits suicide when her mother forces her to marry to a man. In the 1970s, more than 80% of the age cohort went to high school, and both boys and girls began to have a prolonged adolescent period. With the increase in high school enrollment and democratic curriculum implemented in the post-war school system, girls had a dilemma between traditional gender roles and the concept of gender equality taught at school and circulated through the media. The cross-dressed women with the prince outfit probably gave a sense of liberation to teenage readers. Because of their gender fluidity and noble birth, Sapphire and Lady Oscar are tough and free from strict gender norms. They verbally and physically beat men who look down on women and occasionally make fun of elder males in a powerful position. Their rebellious behaviors might have encouraged girls who were struggling to balance their wishes, beliefs, and traditional gender roles in their everyday lives. In order to be liberated and empowered, it is important for the reader that the protagonists are female and yet fight with trouble derived from their gender. The emergence of boys' love manga marks a further gender twist and fluidity. Up until then, the main characters are women, who contest gender norms on behalf of the reader. However, in the mid-1970s and 1980s, a new genre, so-called boys love girls manga appeared, which highlights intimate relationships between boys. These are The Heart of Thomas by Moto Hagio and The Poem of Wind and Trees by Keiko Takemiya. Both narrate the romantic relationships between effeminate beautiful boys in European boarding schools. These works were supported by teenage girls and also paved the way for the later evolution of BL manga. Scholars such as Becker have proposed a theory regarding why Japanese teenage girls related themselves with the European male characters. In both works, the main characters are portrayed as beautiful boys in an elite boarding school, isolated and marginalized because of their race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and problematic relationships with their families. Apparently, it seems totally distant other for Japanese adolescent female readers. On the other hand, adolescent girls are likely to face an identity crisis with physical growth, sexual maturity, and changing perceptions about self and others. They often feel they fit nowhere. The female readers projected themselves onto the marginalized effeminate boys, who are suffering and struggling in isolation. Therefore, the beautiful boys are a reflection of the readers themselves. In addition, the stories that describe intimate relationships between effeminate boys satisfy teenage girls' curiosity when they are not allowed to show their sexual interest and desire. Culturally imposed sexual repression forces teenage girls to feel shame and guilt in expressing their sexuality. Indeed, Hagio, the author of The Heart of Thomas, said that when she was plotting, she once thought of girls as the main characters, but shifted them to male as she felt it would make the storytelling smoother. In this context, it is sensible that they perceived that it would be less problematic to read boys' love narratives where women's sexuality is not involved. Girls look at the 19th century European boys' romantic stories from the same distance to satisfy their desire for intimacy. In the 1980s, BL manga evolved with its fan engagement. Both professional and amateur manga creators wrote BL stories. In many times, they used the characters and settings of existing manga as a basis for their fanfictions. They paired their favorite characters and created imaginary love stories. As shown at the bottom of the slide, Captain Tsubasa is a very typical boys' sport manga with elementary school boys as the main target. But young female fans paired the characters they loved and then produced romantic stories. They shared their works in their circles, and some groups of people published their fan fiction books. Around that time, most of the writers were amateur, but there were some professional manga creators who participated, as there was no place to publish such stories commercially. As Fujimoto states, BL manga was a site for girls and women to creatively play with gender. In the 1990s, original BL manga began to be published, and there were many commercially successful works. Unusual settings and dark themes, such as murder, violence, and drug abuse, were prevalent at that time. Kizuna by Kazuma Kodaka is one of the popular BL manga of the time. That is about college students caught up in a near-fatal accident and Yakuza conflicts. As compared to earlier works by Hagio and Takemiya in the 1970s, the protagonists look more masculine, and the lyrical tones disappeared. It might suggest that both the writer and the reader were less likely to project themselves onto the main characters, but rather enjoy the unusual settings, dramatic stories, and intimate relationships between handsome boys depicted there. Since the early 2000s, while extremely sexualized BL manga continued to be popular, less dramatic BL manga has also acquired a wide readership. Dokyusei by Asumiko Nakamura portrays a male high school student who loves his male classmate and tries to build a close relationship with him. どうしても触れたくない and それでも優しい恋をする by Koyo Neda narrate ordinary business person's secret love with his co-worker, with detailed subtle character descriptions. It is estimated that the market size of BL is about 220 million US dollars in 2015, with some 20 publishers involved. It is also estimated between 0.5 and 0.8 million BL fans are in Japan. As the number of BL fans is growing, they are quite diverse in terms of their age, styles, preferences, and the kind of media they use. This illustration classifies BL fans into four groups, based on their favorite internet platform, fashion, and how openly they talk about their geeky activities. It has been maintained that the interest in BL is observed among teenage girls before they achieve mature heterosexual womanhood. But it is pointed out that mature women outnumber young readers. A study shows that among BL fans, only 23% are ages between 15 and 19, while 37% are in their 20s. 11%, 40% are in their 30s and 40s respectively, and about 15% of them are over 50 years old. In addition, there are an increasing number of male BL fans, and the gender ratio is estimated 70% female and 30% male. Winker also presents an interesting observation that lesbian women enjoyed BL before they realized their own sexual orientation. Therefore, we should admit that BL fandom is not a phenomenon related to only adolescent girls, but it creates a more permanent space where girls, women, and men explore the possibility of alternative gender and sexuality. BL manga has opened up a space where women and girls and men can play with gender, accept alternative sexuality, and potentially empower themselves. However, female BL fans are labeled as fujoshi, means rotten girl in English. The term is considered originally a self-mocking identity, but became a derogatory label. The label reflects heteronormativity and the sexual repression imposed on women. There are some manga and anime about rotten girls. Kiss Him, Not Me by Junko represents a rotten girl's perception. That is, rather than dating with handsome boys who ask her out on date, she likes to imagine these handsome boys having intimate relationships. Kiss Him, Not Me gained popularity, but at the same time it is filled with lookism, self-mocking, and hidden heteronormativity. The BL fandom have developed their community on the cyberspace. Social media, such as Twitter, is a popular interactive site to exchange information, share their works, and feedback. The online community would help BL fans from diverse age, gender, and national backgrounds to interact more easily. A number of fan fictions are produced each year, many of which use existing manga characters or real actors, singers, and idols as a basis for their imaginary stories. It involves many problems, including infringement of copyrights and publicity rights. These problems have been overlooked for a long period of time, partly because many of the professional manga creators used copyrighted characters in their fanfictions before they became professional. And the legal practices are relatively relaxed in Japan as compared to the West. But given that many of the fan fictions are shared online today, their works are more visible from outside. They might need more self-regulation to continue their creative activities. Furthermore, social understanding of LGBTQ issues have been enhanced. An increasing number of films, TV dramas, and non-BL manga that normalize sexual minorities have been produced. Sexual diversity is not yet mainstreamed, but slowly accepted accordingly. BL fandoms have a complicated relationship with LGBTQ activism. BL fans are not homogeneous, but diverse readers and creators are contributing to the community. If you read the Twitter posts with Boys Love, you will find quite a few posts express their support for LGBTQ. Nonetheless, the lack of awareness among the majority of BL fans of serious issues has been criticized. Indeed, BL narratives have been consumed without raising issues of stereotyping and homophobia. In addition, the overtly sexualized descriptions of male bodies in BL manga may aggravate the prejudice against sexual minorities. Today, BL fans are ever more diversified, and there are an increasing number of male readers. Moreover, other forms of visual arts on LGBTQ issues are proliferating and have raised awareness among the general public. These social changes might have influence on the representation in boys' love manga. Now, I'm going to talk about collaboration between BL and musicians to see the possibility of queer representations in Japanese pop music and pop culture. Traditionally, there have been successful singers who embody gender fluidity. Akihiro Miwa is one of the first singers who cross-dressed. He started singing in the US bases in 1951 when Japan was still under the Allied occupation. He sings and performs female characters in his stage shows. Interestingly, the majority of his fans are women of all ages. Ataru Nakamura is a transgender musician who was cast as Itzhak when John Cameron Mitchell starred in Hedwig and the Angry Inch in Japan in 2017. Tomodachi no Uta, Song of Friends, expresses her struggles with her sexuality and her suppressed love for a boy. Here is a verse from this song. Quote, just holding hands is enough. Just walking together is enough. If even that is dangerous, then just being able to see that special person is great. This is a boys couple unit called Noof Noof, who debuted in 2019 and has released 3 tracks so far. They are multinational fashion models and DJ. Taiki to the left in the photo is Japanese, and Noor to the right is Korean. In their official website, it is said that their music is, quote, a new genre of aero disco, filled with love and ennui, and heavily based on funk and house music, with love spread as their main theme. Quote finished. As you can see on the slide, they used an image of BL illustration in their promotion. Given that they are aiming at, quote, spreading the diversified culture where various forms of love and gender coexist, quote ends, it is supposed that they positively associate a BL image with their view of diversified culture. As they have just started their career, it is not known yet how successful they are going to be. Another instance is a band Jobachi, means queen bee in English. They debuted in 2011 and have sung the opening and ending music for popular anime and movies, including Tokyo Ghoul, Dororo, and Sadako, mostly dark fantasies supported by international fans. Although they have been in the professional music industry for about 10 years, their gender, age, name, and nationality are not revealed, and the main vocalist has a gender-fluid appearance and an extremely wide vocal range. A recently released video, Cayenne the First Take, stunned and confused many people. Now please watch the video a little bit. This is an album cover of Half, released in 2018. The vocalist and writer of all the songs, Abu-chan, presents more masculine image here. She often changes her appearance and embodies gender fluidity. In the past, she expressed her suffering and struggles with gender, sexuality, and interraciality using more implicit language. In Tepeki, she sings, quote, I screamed until I could taste blood, but nothing revives, ends, or begins. The right things cannot help me. I want to forgive me, accept me, love myself. Quote ends. But in recent songs, identity issues are more clearly articulated. In Flat, the lyrics convey her message. Quote, what's inside the underwear is not the only thing that tells who you are. Quote ends. And quote, this is a flat battlefield. Quote ends. Which suggests that she and many other people are fighting a gender war in everyday life. Simultaneously, her discomfort with BL and films that highlight tragic same-sex relations is uttered in the song, indicating that they often misrepresent sexual minorities. Related to interraciality, in another song, Half, she sings, quote, I've never thought that I am a half. Quote ends. In the Japanese context, the term half refers to multiracial or mixed-race people, and many of them reveal that the insensible label deeply hurts them, as they sense negative implications that they are not a full member of the community. In these songs, she rejects fixed identity and stereotypes reinforced in the mainstream society. In February 2020, Jobachi released a new album called BL and used the image that evokes boys' love. The illustration used for the cover is by Harada, a popular boys' love illustrator and manga creator. It was a remarkable shift for Jobachi, as they used more abstract images for their previous albums and kept distance from boys' love in the past. But if you listen to the album, it is clear that BL does not mean boys' love. As a verse, Black Love, Black Life is refrained in BL, the lead track of the album. BL rather refers to the troubled life and relationship of a young couple, whose genders are unknown. Their fans tweeted that they were totally misguided, and even after they knew that BL did not stand for boys' love, the illustration and the title still inspired their imagination. The band does not elucidate why they have chosen the title and image for the album, but they successfully incorporated multiple meanings into their works and attracted a new audience. While they are aware of the potentially negative implications of BL manga, They playfully manipulate the image and connotations attached to BL manga at the symbolic level. As a part of the promotion of the album, Jobaji released a video calling The First Take. This is one piece of the music video series called The First Take, in which various musicians sing their song without editing. As you can see here, in the original version of Kaien music video released in 2019, Abuchang looks more masculine with male outfits. So, the first take version completely astonished and confused many people who knew only masculine Abuchan or only heard their songs but never saw them. Here are some of the typical comments out of over 10,000 entries given to the video in multiple languages. Most of the comments praise the performance, but there are also many comments related to her appearance. Here, I just focus on the comments in Japanese in order to see how people accept gender fluidity embodied in the video. I'm very sorry if it sounds rude, but is this vocalist a woman or a man? Just very confused. Disgusting. They look like a lady before they sing, but once they start singing, they look masculine, absolutely gender neutral. Their gender is just abuchan. A new gender category has emerged. Why do you want to divide people into only two genders? I was very confused when they started singing, but after all, I thought gender and nationality are not important, as long as the person is talented. Many of the people who encounter Jobachi for the first time ask the vocalist gender in perplexity. But when the fans replied that the vocalist gender is just Abuchan, or it is not necessary to fit conventional gender categories, many people simply accept it. Among the comments positive about gender neutrality and fluidity, there are some people who state that gender is not important if the person's performance is excellent. Of course, these comments are problematic because they suggest that gender does matter if the person is not talented. This means that only people with special abilities can enjoy the luxury of being yourself. BL manga has potential to liberate girls and women and men, present a space for them to play with gender and seek alternatives. At present, there are various types of BL manga, and the readership is diverse in terms of their age, style, preference, and gender. On the other hand, there have been criticisms that their gaze objectifies men and reproduces prejudice. Recently, some playful creators from the music industry began to use the images of BL. While these creators must be aware of both positive and negative aspects, they take advantage of the potential of BL to reach a wider audience and challenge gender norms and heteronormativity. The involvement of creators from diverse fields might occasion interesting consequences in the BL fan community. It is unknown the degree to which BL can become a shared space, where people from various fields can build up dialogical relationships. But it is probable that open dialogues contribute to the further development of BL. Thank you for your kind attention.